going on, guys? Welcome to another episode. So if you guys are familiar with Zs, or if you've driven one before, you'll have an idea as to how they drive. Now, the one thing that I noticed when I got my Z was the fact that it was a very different feel when you get the car going. So the clutch pedal felt completely different than any other car that I've driven. And I looked into it, I looked to see if there was a solution for it, or if there was any kind of remedy to make it more predictable and more linear, like a normal transmission and clutch pedal would feel. And I found two different solutions. So what I noticed is that when you start the car and you get the car going, the clutch pedal is basically like an on and off switch, and it's very difficult to actually modulate where it grabs, because it goes from nothing to boom, bites, and then every once in a while, if you're not really paying attention, you'll stall the car. Now, I haven't ever experienced that with my Accord. The Mini didn't do that, my 240 didn't do that, and even my little brother's car, his kind of does it, but it's a lot worse in this car. The 350Zs aren't as bad as this, but the 370s, you can definitely notice that there's something going on. So what I'm gonna do is actually bring the car inside and show you the little piece of the puzzle, the thing that you need to remove. So when you're driving, you get the car in gear and you take your foot off the clutch pedal, it goes from nothing to almost everything in a matter of about an inch. So when you're driving and you actually wanna kind of be smooth when you start off and get going, it's kind of tricky because you really have to pay attention in this car. Now, there's two different solutions for it, and today in this video, I'm going to show you the easier solution of the two. If that solution doesn't work, if that doesn't remedy the problem, what I'm going to have to do is go the expensive route, buy the part that I need to replace, and then at that point, the clutch is going to feel like a normal vehicle. I've been driving my Z for the past, I'd say, 2 months now, and even still, I am kind of used to how the clutch pedal feels. However, it still isn't a pleasant feeling. If you aren't paying attention, that clutch pedal will snap and it's not very forgiving. So that's why I'm gonna be changing something today. So in a lot of cars nowadays, you're gonna find what's called a clutch helper spring. Now that spring is gonna be attached to the clutch pedal. What it's designed to do is make the clutch pedal feel very linear. Now the problem with that though is that even though it does feel quite consistent, you can't exactly feel the pressure plate. So it's a very numb feeling. You can't exactly feel where the top of the pedal is versus the bottom of the pedal. So if you're starting off in first gear from a standstill, that clutch pedal is not very forgiving. So it's gonna snap on you and be very aggressive if you're not really paying attention. So that's what I'm gonna be addressing today. So there's technically 3 different fixes that you guys can do for your car, should you guys have this. Now, you don't necessarily need to have a 370 to do this. However, the first remedy is the cheapest one. It costs you $0, and all that you're doing is removing that helper spring entirely. There are replacement helper springs that you guys can install, and that's another cheap option. That'll cost you around 20 to 30 bucks. Now, there's one more option on top of that, and that is the last resort. So if the clutch pedal still doesn't feel the way you want, what you can do is replace the entire clutch pedal with a different assembly. I'm not entirely sure which route I'm going to enjoy more. However, I'm going to be starting off with the cheapest route, and then I'm going to work my way up. Now, one last thing to keep in mind, if you guys do want to do this procedure and you need to push the clutch pedal in when you're taking the spring out, be sure to keep the car with the e-brake pulled up, because if you go ahead and push the clutch down with the car in gear and the e-brake isn't pulled, the car will roll on you. So just keep that in mind should you guys want to do this procedure. So in the footwell area, you can see that we have our gas pedal, our brake pedal, and then our clutch pedal. Now, if you come up here, you'll be able to see that we have a little spring found on the top of the clutch pedal. So whenever you press the clutch down, that spring is actually going to be there to somewhat assist the feeling of it. However, because it's there and you're putting pressure against the spring, you can't feel the pressure against the pressure plate. So that is why we're going to be removing this today in this video. So to remove the actual spring assembly, it's quite simple. So we're going to remove everything down here, the spring, and the top bucket found on top of the spring. So to get that done, we're going to need to remove the little C-clip that's found on this side of the little pin. So what you're going to need is a needle nose plier. We're going to push this over. And what it's going to do is it's going to move it out of the little groove on the little pin. So once you slide it off, just like that, save that, keep that aside. And then what we're going to do after this is we're going to slide the little pin on the bottom of the spring to the left. So there's going to be a little bit of grease on here. It's not a big deal. Now, once we push this out, we're going to relieve the pressure from the spring. So you're basically just twisting this over top of the spring assembly. Now, if you have to relieve some pressure, push the clutch pedal down, and then it's going to remove all the slack from the clutch spring. That might be a little bit easier to remove it. And once you have it pushed out a decent amount, you'll be able to grab it on this side, and slide it out completely. I actually found out that a lot of vehicles have this problem. So you're gonna find a lot of modern cars that have this spring assist inside of here. Now once you slide the entire pin out, the spring and the bottom along with the top will all still be inside of there. So what we're going to need to do next is put that pin down. We're gonna have to push forward on the clutch assembly, and we're gonna have to pull back on the bottom part of the spring. And it should slide out, and once you get it out, it might fall to the ground, so just keep that in mind. With the entire assembly out of the vehicle, this is basically what we removed. So we have this little C-clip, we have the little pin that was found on the bottom, we have this bottom part here, which basically holds the spring inside of there. You've got the spring, you've got the top part of the perch right there, and this little spring right here is found inside of the top part. So when this is all together, it looks something like that, if I can get it. So that's pretty much what it looks like. Now what you can do is you can replace the spring that's inside of here, the big one, with another one that isn't as stiff. So this spring right here requires 6 kilos to remove this and compress this 1 millimeter. Now you can replace this with a much softer one, and one that you're looking for is going to be around 1 kilo per millimeter. I'm gonna be straight with you guys. I'm not gonna be reinstalling this spring back inside the car. And honestly, I'm not gonna be installing any of that stuff that's on the table. What I'm going to do is drive the car the way it is, see if I like it. If not, I'll spend the 30 bucks on the new spring. If not, I'm gonna be buying the new replacement pedal for the Z. Basically, all of the Zs and Gs basically have the same kind of setup. So the clutch helper spring is a little bit too aggressive, and this pedal, the replacement pedal, is pretty much the go-to. It's the final solution to all of this stuff. I want to first test out all 3 of these options to see if I like it, see which one works best, and at that point, I can give you guys a good representation as to which one is the best bet. The whole clutch pedal does cost a little bit more than the spring. However, from what I've heard, the feel is night and day different. And the cool thing about the pedal too is that it's adjustable. However, in the meantime, that clutch is out, and I'm gonna take the Z for a spin to let you guys know how I like it. Okay, so here goes the first start, first press of the clutch. Oh wow, that feels a lot better. Okay, that's pretty good. That's a very good free modification for this car. As soon as you basically got past the engagement point for the clutch, with the stock spring, it was basically like, okay, you're getting past it, and boom, it tries to like fire you away. With this setup, it's a lot more predictable, a lot better feel, and to be honest, you don't really even feel that much more weight, I guess, when you're pressing the clutch. It doesn't feel like it's 1,000 pounds. To be honest, it actually feels kind of like the same weight, which is kind of surprising. So I'm actually gonna put the camera down, go down the back roads by my place, and I'll let you guys know once I'm back what I think of it. Okay, I had to stop the car to actually tell you guys this. So this feels so much better. This has got to be by far the best free modification that you can do to your manual car. So if you guys do have a clutch spring in your car and it feels kind of weird, take it out, see what it feels like, because I am quite happy with this modification. It took me, what, 5 minutes to do this? Very simple hand tools, and it makes a world of a difference as to how the manual transmission feels. So these Z's, at least the 370s for that matter, they've got a pretty stiff clutch, and it's got a very grabby clutch disc. So by doing this modification, it doesn't feel harsh at all. It feels like you're just driving a regular car. This car is much more of a sports car compared to my two-door Accord Coupe, but at the end of the day, this feels just like it when you're not pushing the car hard. Even when you go decide to redline the car and drive the vehicle hard, you're not really seeing any negative things from this clutch spring delete. If you guys have a car that has a clutch spring in it, my advice to you guys is take it out. It's by far the best bang for buck modification you can do to your car. Now, I also went online and I went on eBay and purchased a replacement clutch spring for my Z. So I looked up the same specifications. It's a 2.5-inch spring. Instead of having the 6 kilo per millimeter spring, that's how much pressure it takes to compress it, I found a replacement 1 kilo per millimeter spring. Same size, same everything. It's meant for this car. And what I'm going to do is eventually install that to see if it's any different. And then if I don't like the feel even at that point, what I might also do is replace the whole pedal with the nice one. But as it is right now, I like how this feels. I think this is a lot better than having the stock, disgusting, unnatural throw to it. So I'm happy with this change. If you guys have any questions regarding the video, throw them down in the comment section below, and I'd be more than happy to help. Again, guys, thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.